Okay. Good morning, everyone. If everyone could have a seat, and if you have a conversation, we ask you to take it. Shh. Okay, folks. We're going to start the meeting, so welcome. Okay, yeah. And if folks can come in quietly, we have a few procedural things we will do before we get to the main item on the agenda. So we'll start by calling to order, saying good morning. It's Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and we're going to call the Regional Planning Commission meeting to order. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupied land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandeño Tatavian Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrieleno Band of Mission Indians, Quiche Nation, San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit the Los Angeles City, County, Native American Indian Commission website at lanaic.lacounty.gov. We'll now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance and ask Commissioner Hastings to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Please stand, place your right hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hastings. You're welcome. Now we will move on to the roll call.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Duarte White?
Here.
Commissioner Louis? Here. Chair O'Connor?
Here.
Commissioner Moon?
Here.
Commissioner Hastings?
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 3 is approval of the agenda, and I ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Oh, okay, so I'll go with Commissioner Duarte White, and the second was, I believe, Commissioner Moon. So all those in favor, please say aye or yes. Aye. Aye. Okay, any opposed? No, so the agenda has been adopted. That moves us on to item 4, and we turn, that's our report from County Council, so we turn to Ms. Kathy Park.
Morning, Commissioners. I don't have a report this morning. I just have the meeting rules of conduct. Rules that allow for an orderly meeting shall apply to those participating in person and virtually. Note, when speaking on an agenda item, comment should address that item, not other issues. Similarly, if speaking during public comment, comment should be addressed to issues related to the business of the Regional Planning Commission. If speakers do not remain on topic, they may be reminded by the chair or myself to do so. Discussion of issues not related to the agendized item may result in the loss of the right to speak on the item or other items if directed by the chair. In addition, speakers should refrain from conduct that disrupts the meeting. Doing so could also result in the loss of the right to speak on a particular agenda item or other matters. Disruptive conduct can include, but is not limited to, threats made against other speakers, the commission or its members, or any others participating in the meeting, profane comments not related to the agenda item, or disorderly or contemptuous behavior that leads to a disruption of the orderly progression and holding of the meeting. In such cases, the chair will advise that the behavior is disruptive, and for those participating online, direct that the speaker's microphone be disabled. They may continue to observe the meeting. Thereafter, further disruptive behavior communicated to the panelists of the meeting, which includes commissioners and county staff, may result in disconnecting that person's online connection. Similarly, for those speaking and participating in person, the disruptive person may be asked to stop the behavior, and if it continues, be asked to leave the room. For online participants, the chat function is only for signing up to speak. Commissioners do not review the chat during the meeting. Abuse of the chat function by using it to comment or to make profane or unrelated comments may result in disconnection from the online meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Park. With that, we'll move on to item 5, as reports from the Director's Office, and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. We do not have any updates for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to the admission procedures that Ms. Luna will go through.
If you are joining us via Zoom on your computer or mobile device and want to provide comment on any of the agenda items, our staff will obtain your information through Zoom's chat box feature. Please provide staff with the agenda item number, your first name, last name, and your email address. If you are joining us via telephone and want to provide comment on any of the agenda items, please send an email to comment@planning.lacounty.gov. Provide your agenda item number, first name, your last name, email address, and phone number. All participants' microphones will be muted during the meeting unless you have signed up to provide comment. If you have signed up to provide comment, your microphone will be unmuted when it's time for you to speak and I call your name. After today's staff presentation after today when staff does their presentation, they will go ahead and answer questions from the commissioners. Other participants will provide their comments in support, in opposition, or with concerns, and will have 2 minutes to address the commission. I will now swear in the members of the public, including in-person and remote speakers requesting to address the Regional Planning Commission on public hearing items. Those of you addressing the public hearing items and are able to, please stand and raise your right hand. In the testimony you may give before this commission, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may have a seat.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to our public hearing item number 6. And before we begin with the presentation, do any of my colleagues have any disclosures for this specific item? No? Okay, thank you. So we now move on to our public hearing item, project number PRJ 2023-001700, Westside Area Plan. And we have Ms. Judy Yam and Miriam Thompson to do the presentation. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Julie Yam with the General Plan Transit-Oriented Community Section. Joining me today to present is my colleague Miriam Thompson, and we will be presenting on the Westside Area Plan project. Today's presentation will start with an overview of the Westside Planning Area project, followed by area plan information, opportunity sites, planning area standards district, a review of our community engagement efforts, and end with environmental analysis. I'll start with an overview of the project and its components. The Westside Planning Area is located in the western portion of Los Angeles County and totals approximately 145 square miles, of which the unincorporated communities occupy 7.4 square miles. It includes the eastern extension of the Santa Monica Mountains on the north and is bounded by the Pacific Ocean on the west, LA International Airport in the south, and an irregular boundary generally running along Centinela Boulevard, Crenshaw Boulevard, and the 405 freeway in the east. The planning area consists of 7 unincorporated communities. They are Ladera Heights and View Park Windsor Hills, West Fox Hills, Marina del Rey, Bayona Wetlands, West LA, Sawtell, VA, Franklin Canyon, Gilmore Island. As of 2022, the planning area's population was 32,712 people, and consisted of 15,425 households. The general plan lays out the values and vision countywide by providing goals, policies, and programs for resilient and sustainable communities. The area plan builds on those goals and refines them at the local scale. The area plan is a policy document that guides long-term development, but does not directly approve any development project. The project contains 3 components. First, general plan amendment. Second, changes to the land use policy and zoning maps. And third, implementation ordinance, which establishes the planning area standards district. As a policy document and a component of the general plan, the Westside Area Plan directs future development and land use decisions to achieve a shared vision for managing growth and the built environment within the planning area. The vision for the Westside Area Plan, which was informed through an extensive stakeholder engagement, guides the planning area towards sustainable development while recognizing and celebrating history, people, diversity, and culture. To achieve its vision, the Westside Area Plan project is shaped by 5 guiding principles. I'll briefly explain these principles, starting with the community character on top, going counterclockwise. First, community character, which aims to preserve the planning area's character by ensuring the future growth is integrated into neighborhoods, commercial districts, and open spaces with designs and densities that complements community scale and quality. Next is growth and land use development, which prioritizes community-serving uses that are accessible to residents, including diversity of housing choices, local businesses, places to dine and be entertained, and community facilities, as well as parklands. Next, environment, which focuses to protect open spaces and natural resources while emphasizing sustainable building practices and implementing infrastructure improvements that are environmentally sensitive and minimize impacts on climate change. Next, economic health, which aims to foster the economic health and prosperity of local businesses by promoting a mix of use and adaptability of buildings while nurturing small businesses and attracting job opportunities and commercial services that serve local residents. And lastly, mobility, to improve a diversity of travel choices by enabling residents to efficiently and safely access destinations by walking, biking, using public transit, and emerging forms of transportation. Next, I'll speak more about the Westside Area Plan and the strategies that help to meet the county's goals at the local scale. The area plan is organized into 3 sections. First, introduction, which describes the purpose of the Westside Area Plan project, the Westside communities, the vision statement, and guiding principles. Second, 6 area-wide elements, each representing background information regarding existing conditions, key findings, and conclusions. The vision is carried out through all the chapters, and the background information, as well as the key findings, inform the goals, policies of each element. And lastly, implementation programs and actions, which contains a list of programs that will further implement the goals and policies. I will now go into a more detail on each of the plan's area-wide elements and highlight a few of their goals and policies. First is the historic resources element, which guides the preservation of historic and cultural resources with goals that support identification and documentation of historical resources, as well as to protect and preserve the historic character of neighborhoods. Land use element guides the location and designations of different land uses. With goals that support a diversity of land use and housing, the specific policies focus on future opportunity sites, near transit, and major corridors to maintain the character of the existing community, vital and active commercial and mixed-use districts, and distinct livable places. The mobility element guides the development of a safe, efficient, and accessible transportation with goals that support improved access to transit service, safe and connected pedestrian and bicycle network, and managed parking to optimize efficient use of community space. The economic development elements guides decision-making to support economically sustainable communities. Some of the goals and policies include economic support for seniors, equitable access to jobs in growing industries, and vibrant commercial areas that support small businesses. The conservation and open space element guides decision-making on conservation of natural and open space resources with goals and policies that focus on sustainable natural environment and resources for equitable use by future generations, the Inglewood oil field as public and environmental asset, and conservation of resources and infrastructure to improve resilience and minimize contributions to climate change. The public services and facilities element discusses goals and policies which include improved access to county facilities and public parks, provision of the social, physical, and mental health services, as well as equitable and reliable infrastructure and utility systems. The Land Use and Zone Change Program was developed to satisfy various objectives in line with the project's vision and goals. First, consistency with general plan. Land use designations are brought into consistency with general plan and area plan's goals and policies. Second, housing element. These changes are required to meet the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA, as identified in the housing element, which includes a list of sites to be redesignated by 2024 to accommodate the county's RHNA shortfall. And lastly, opportunity sites. Opportunity sites, or future growth areas, were identified based on specific criteria, including proximity to transit and major corridors, adequate means of access, and consistency of community character. The Westside Area Plan project identifies 10 opportunity sites. In this section, I'll briefly explain the opportunity sites identified in the project. As part of the Westside Area Plan, the project team has identified 10 opportunity sites to enhance the quality of life for community residents. These sites were carefully selected through extensive community input. Much of the input voiced the desire to maintain and preserve the characteristics of the existing residential neighborhoods while protecting natural resources and open spaces. The opportunity sites implement the projects and the general plan's goals to increase housing diversity and commercial options along major corridors and near transit, increase housing opportunities, promote walkable communities, and focus growth in areas with existing infrastructure while preserving the community's character and culture. These opportunity sites were selected through a transparent and equitable process which prioritized community input. There were several community events in the form of in-person and virtual meetings, library office hours, as well as community surveys to garner community feedback on the opportunity sites. Many community members voiced their desire to maintain and preserve existing residential neighborhoods. To reflect the community's feedback, these opportunity sites are focused on commercial corridors, such as Slauson Avenue, where most of the existing uses are non-residential, with a goal to increase neighborhood serving amenities to improve walkability and leverage transit access. I will now turn it over to my colleague Miriam Thompson to address Planning Area Standards District and community engagement.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, Commissioners. Miriam Thompson here with Regional Planning. The Planning Area Standards District is established to implement specific development standards for the unincorporated communities. This PASD is in accordance with a recently reorganized Division 10 of Title 22, which consolidates the new PASD, the new Community Standards Districts, also known as CSDs, with the existing Baldwin Hills CSD into a single chapter of the zoning code. New standards relate to height limits, front yards, landscaping, loading, lighting, fencing, and historic resources. The PASD proposes new standards that are applicable to the entire planning area. Standards such as exclusion of elevator shafts and stairwells from height limits. Standards also ensure that service areas remain visually unobtrusive and integrated with the design of site of the building. Also, standards where an expansion in floor area abuts a residentially zoned lot, the plan will require a landscaped buffer strip of at least 5 feet wide, one 15-gallon tree for every 50 square feet of that landscaped buffer, and a solid masonry wall between 6 and 8 feet in height along common lot lines. Now, the mixed-use areas in the Westside PASD have their own development standards, such as loading spaces. Standards for loading spaces now require their location in the rear of a structure, away from residentially zoned lots, and screening with decorative masonry. Loading spaces. Standards for loading spaces now require their location in the rear of a structure, away from adjoining residentially zoned lots, and screening with decorative masonry. Decorative fencing standards also now require decorative fencing and/or landscaping when visible from a street, alley, or residentially zoned properties. Unadorned concrete masonry walls and chain link fencing shall be prohibited. And for loading and unloading operations, they shall not be conducted between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So under the umbrella of the PASD are Community Standards Districts, or CSDs. This slide highlights the Ladera Heights CSD, which proposes the following standards. Building height limits. For buildings in Ladera Heights CSDs mixed-use zones, the maximum height shall be 45 feet above grade. Also, exterior lighting standards apply such that they will be shielded in all residential zones. Fence transparency standards, these new standards establish that front yard fences and walls shall be non-view obscuring and shall maintain a minimum vertical support distance of 5 feet apart. And again, chain link fences are prohibited. Front yard setback overlay zone. These new standards establish a reduction of front yard setback requirements on select properties. Those have expansion constraints that are characterized by at least 25% slope, and they're also identified on a map and a table within the ordinance. Historic resources. Reduced front yard setback requirements shall not apply to properties or districts that are listed in the National, State, or County Register of Historic Resources. Similarly, in View Park, Windsor Hills, in their Community Standards District, there are new standards that also limit building height, requiring shielded lighting, exterior lighting, also maintaining community character by preventing view obscuring fences and walls in front yards while protecting historic resources. The project also includes an amendment to Title 22, Planning and Zoning, which codifies the state-mandated inclusionary zoning policy for certain parcels included in the housing element. Next slide, please. Next, I will speak to the community engagement that staff have cultivated from the start of the project in order to reach residents in each of the unincorporated communities. As you know, sustained community engagement and outreach are an important part of the planning process. Since the outset of the project, staff have used a variety of methods to engage with and solicit input from communities in the Westside planning area. There has been a robust level of engagement that greatly increased throughout the development of the Westside Area Plan. On the screen is an overview of outreach and engagement events the project team has participated in over the past year. This includes hosting in-person and online community-wide meetings, holding in-person library office hours, and attending community events. Additionally, email newsletters were sent regularly to the project contact list, and partnerships were made with other county departments. Staff have also hosted reoccurring virtual meetings. Next, I would like to highlight the invaluable input staff received from the community survey. This was conducted from May through December of 2023, and the survey was the initial tool that we used to begin the dialogue with these communities. This survey was disseminated online and also in print at several community engagement events. In total, the survey garnered 387 responses and provided a view of prevailing concerns. These concerns were oriented around several main threads, so the responses indicate a strong desire to preserve and enhance the existing community characteristics, to ensure that future growth is sensitively integrated into the existing environment, and to revitalize commercial corridors with services such as restaurants and grocery stores. These considerations greatly informed the development of the Westside Area Plan. So, depicted on this slide is a breakdown of the significant meetings and events staff have held or attended, beginning in August of 2023 with the project kickoff, and finally ending in August of this year with a listening session that was held. You'll see the photographs refer to all of these widely attended events. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so another community engagement method that staff relied upon were flyers and notices. This slide depicts a few examples of the project flyers that we created. The initial project flyers were printed and physically mailed to approximately 6,300 property owners through the United States Postal Service on 3 separate occasions. Staff also conducted in-person drop-offs, and we also, of course, made these available on the project website. Additionally, these were emailed to our project listserv, which hosts 1,167 email addresses. Staff have also maintained an online digital presence to engage a wider audience than those who may have been able to attend the in-person events. On this slide, you'll see a list of the various digital offerings and engagement methods that were undertaken to diversify outreach and to cast a wider net than who were available to attend the in-person events. On the screen also is a community engagement summary where you will see 46 community engagement events were held with stakeholders and community groups. 12,007 notification letters were sent for proposed zoning and land use changes. 504 phone calls were responded to, and additionally, those were made in multiple languages, as well as emails. Over 1,000 people attended community meetings and workshops, be it in person or virtual. Additionally, we sent 18,900 postcards That was regarding the survey, the availability of the draft documents, and also a public hearing notice. 1,167 recipients were emailed courtesy project updates. Also, we maintained collaboration with county departments such as Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and the Supervisorial District 2 staff. Finally, we've also participated in a community-led walk joined by the City of Los Angeles Conservancy members, and community members. So many of these methods have been successful at garnering involvement and productive at obtaining feedback from the citizens of the Westside planning area.
I will now highlight the environmental analysis conducted for the project. A Program Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR, has been prepared for the project in compliance with both the California Environmental Quality Act and county guidelines. The Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, or MMRP, ensures inclusion of all feasible mitigation measures into the project, which are specific to the environmental topics listed here on the slide. As part of the final PEIR, a findings of fact and a statement of overriding considerations were prepared. The EIR included analysis on 4 environmental topics not expected to result in any significant impacts. The EIR included analysis on 4 environmental topics identified as having a less than significant impact, with mitigation measures included upon project implementation. The EIR included analysis on 3 environmental topics identified as having a significant and unavoidable impact upon project implementation, even with all feasible mitigation measures included. In conclusion, the final PEIR concludes the project's benefits outweigh its unavoidable significant impacts to air quality, noise, and transportation when implementing sustainable growth. As a result, we've had to prepare a statement of overriding considerations. The statement of overriding considerations explain how the county is balancing the project's benefits with its environmental risks and provides specific reasons for proposing approval of the project. Thank you, commissioners. This concludes our presentation. Staff is now available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yom and Ms. Thompson. Commissioners, at this point, do we have questions? Commissioner Boone.
I have a question for you. After receiving feedback from the community, was any changes made to the rezoning?
Yes, I could answer that, Commissioner Moon. We've had several instances where we've had heard out the residents. Most recently, the biggest changes or the revisions made that reflect the community's input were putting up building height of height limit of 45 feet all across the MXD or the mixed-use zones within the planning area. And we also had removed 2 of the opportunity sites. In the beginning, we had presented 12 opportunity sites, but after hearing the community's input, we decided to remove 2 of the the chosen opportunity sites, and that's why it has been reduced to 10. And also, based on the community's input of the desire to maintain and preserve the existing community, the residential neighborhoods, those specific development standards have been brought into the PASD to provide the shielding of light and providing the building height limit and fencing transparency, which supports the idea of preserving the existing community and the neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions
Commissioner Martin?
regarding the engagement process. That's something that we all seem to prioritize here, and I thank you for all the information, but I couldn't take it down fast enough. I'm so sorry. On one of your slides, you had a response rate of 387 responses. And yet I couldn't find it on that long list of ones where you actually list the number of people in person and postcards. Can you tell me what the difference was there so I can kind of get a sense of how you were tracking?
Sure, I'll be glad to answer that question. So you are referring to the community survey, which was available from May through December of 2023. And in total, we received 387 responses for those community surveys. And in specific, there were 2 community surveys, one specific to Ladera Heights View Park, Windsor Hills, and another one specifically tailored to the West Fox Hills. And so in total, we've received a total of 387 responses on these surveys.
And so from those responses from the surveys, how many surveys did you actually send out then?
So we sent out, what you see on the screen is the flyer that we actually sent out. So this was sent out to 6,300 property owners within the planning area. And we've also sent this out via email to the project listserv that we have, which consists of approximately 1,100 contacts. And we've also reached out to other county departments to collaborate by posting these on site at county parks and local libraries. And we've also done the drop-offs at local businesses.
So is it your understanding that you've had an active conversation with the community then and sufficient enough to bring it today? Is that what you're saying? That because clearly we have people that are not happy.
Okay, folks, we want to have a fair hearing because there could be somebody here who's in favor of it. So let's, pat each other on your back, but please, let's keep the shouting, let's keep the clapping not happening, and let's have a fair platform for all. Thank you.
I believe we've had a robust and extensive community outreach. Let's go back to one of the slides that summarizes the community engagement efforts that we've done. I believe, this illustrates and summarizes the robust community engagement effort the team has undertaken. Within the past year, we've had a total of 46, well, actually now 47, because we've recently had a community walkthrough, which didn't get included into this slide, but we've had 47 community engagement events with stakeholders, community groups, and members of the public. We've sent out over 1,200 notification letters for proposed zoning and land use changes. And we've also responded to over 500 phone calls and emails. And recently, just within from the end of June of this year to August, we've held 3 community-wide meetings, both in person and virtual. And in total, the attendance of those 3 meetings were approximately 1,000 people. So I think given the time that we've had, we've did everything that we can. And I think, we had a robust and extensive outreach. And as a small and mighty project team, we feel confident that we've done enough to reach out to the community members.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that you've made an effort, because clearly these are significant outreach efforts. I mean, based on some of the other presentations that we've received, this is clearly demonstrated effort to reach out. But what I'm trying to get at is when they did communicate with you, do you feel that they were satisfied or they felt heard, or what are still some of the challenges you still face that seem to be unaddressed? So
if I can jump in, Commissioner, I would say that the development of the plan is very much about striking the right balance between the state mandates that this plan is responding to, plus a very short timeline in order to meet our February state deadline. But I think given the time and the resources, I do believe that that staff has done everything we can do to make sure that voices are heard. I know that people probably feel like their voices aren't heard, perhaps because there's not full buy-in. But it could be that the disagreement comes from the very thing that we cannot necessarily change because we're meeting state mandates.
Got it.
So it's striking that right balance. So we do understand, although the hope was that there could be full buy-in, that there are just some things that the plan has to address per state law.
So thank you very much. And again, this is clearly indication of a robust attempt to engage the community. I'm anxious to hear from the community now. Thank you.
Just one follow-up. So we do definitely have a state mandate, so our hands are really tied, is that correct?
Yes, the mandates come from the housing element law, which requires that we complete our rezoning program for the county unincorporated areas by February of next year. So I think the area plan approach has been our way of not just increasing units in all of our unincorporated communities, but putting the rezoning in the context of more comprehensive community planning. So that we're not just thinking about the increase of units, but we're looking at addressing other goals such as mobility, open space, and as a second step, infrastructure. So for all of these reasons, we embedded the rezoning process within this larger effort.
So with our hands tied, this needs to be appealed to the state representative, is that correct?
Yes, I think throughout the process, we have tried to make that distinction between what opportunities we do have to create local policies, as well as state mandates. And I think where we could stretch and modify, we absolutely did.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hastings.
Staff, if I may ask a couple of questions. On the RHNA goals for this area, what are the unit increases that we have to reach? Minimums?
One second while I look that up.
Thank you.
I think it's 90,000.
90,000 is countywide.
Right. I'm just talking about this plan.
It was approximately 6,000 units that we had to meet.
Okay, so 6,000 units, figure 1.5 to 2 people per unit. So we're talking about an additional 12,000 to 15,000 people. And a lot of the responses that we got from the public were questions which I didn't hear, and maybe you guys have answers for us, and that was for water and power provisions and the first responders reflecting on an increase in that kind of population. Are there budget allocations already figured in that for the county? And again, I go back to what Commissioner Moon said. We really are being forced on our county planners, our fine county planners, by the way, that the state of California is saying do this, or we'll come after you and either cut back funding, which is what we've seen done in other areas, or they'll sue you if you don't do what the state of California tells you to do. So are those allocations at least looked into for a budget for the county?
So I can jump into that. So I referenced that as the next step, we'll be doing a capital improvement plan, and it's for all of the area plans that you're currently reviewing in this short time frame. So we will be doing a capital improvement plan or an infrastructure plan that addresses not only how we can plan for infrastructure to support the land use changes, but also assessing existing conditions. So that is the next step.
So I think that what these folks might be concerned with, which I would be, is should it not be the other way around? In other words, let them know the infrastructure is available. Let them know that we have these things that are available. Okay, so let's now approve the plan. But I know we have deadlines, which are completely opposite what normally we would do in planning. So we appreciate what you're saying and doing, but we also appreciate the hundreds of letters that we received, and most of us read them all, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other
I have
questions?
one more, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no worries.
So Connie, the area plan that they're bringing before us today, clearly under the auspices of the planning department. The community plan, who's responsible for that?
All the area plans and community-based plans are components of the general plan, and the government code tasks all planning departments in each jurisdiction to prepare and develop those plans and to maintain them.
So is there a mechanism for the community to have input into the community plan, the actual cornerstone of what we're going to hear, what we've heard today?
So the way we've described this, and I truly believe this, these are living documents. Right now, we don't have a community-based plan for the Westside unincorporated communities. So we do see this as a significant step to establish those tools. And we hope that as a result of that, that there's ongoing dialogue and opportunity to not only reference some of those goals and policies that are in the plan when people are coming and engaging with all of you, for instance, in the context of a discretionary project, to say this project is not consistent because remember this goal and policy. So that is a tool that's available now. But these are ongoing dialogues that we hope to continue to have. And again, the next tangible effort is the development of that capital improvement program, which again, there's a lot of lessons learned. I think it's with engaging with communities on our community-based plan. It's always an iterative process. So there's definitely lessons learned and things that we can improve upon in the next phase of our engagement with the community.
And in the capital improvement plan, will you have mechanisms for community input?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, with that, we will move on to the public comment portion of our hearing, and Ms. Luna will call the names of folks who want to provide input.
We will go ahead and begin with Deborah Langane, Jesse McClendon, Louise Thomas Bishart. If I can have you three come to the front podium.
We have a total, how many speakers altogether?
Yes,
How many?
we have a total of 25. Okay, we'll begin with Deborah. You have 2 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
And if you need to sit, if anybody needs to sit while you're waiting, because it could be 4 minutes till if you're the third speaker, certainly feel free to take a seat and come back in the front row. Thank you.
I am Deborah Langine, and I want to thank all of you for this opportunity to state my concerns. I am here to oppose today's vote for the final environmental report and Westside Area Plan project. I'm respectfully requesting the Los Angeles County Regional Planning Commission to postpone the flawed regional housing needs assessment formula used to calculate housing unit allocations, which needs to be corrected. The need for reform of the RHNA formula has been a longstanding issue for several years. The impact on the community is going to be exceptionally negative if you are bringing 12,000 more people, particularly, into that community, and this community is just about 3 miles long. I cannot see any benefit at all to the current community, and the amount of traffic that already exists is quite overwhelming. It is only going to be that much more negatively impactful. Thank you.
Again, no, please, really ask you, I mean, give people a shout out when you see them, but let's try to keep this an even playing field and no clapping, no cheering, no jeering. Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin with, we'll go ahead and start with Jesse McClendon. Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is Jessie McLennan. I'm a resident of View Park. I'm actually living today in the house that I went to high school from 60 years ago. So I've seen a lot of progress and a lot of problems in the neighborhood and a lot of failed promises. I asked to speak today because after submitting a 3-page response to the draft in August, I realized that none of my comments were included in the commentary section of the, it was like I didn't say anything. And so I wanted to come back and talk about that. People will talk about a number of things. I want to specifically talk about transportation and the lack of any real transport element in this. The boilerplate response that mobility will be increased through bike paths and walking paths and public transportation, it would be laughable if it weren't such a serious issue. Nobody familiar with the topography of View Park, Windsor Hills, or Ladera would believe that this is going to do anything at all. Transportation has been the key to successful expansion in cities all across the country. Development follows transportation everywhere but in Los Angeles, and we have an historical failure in that respect. And what do we get with this? Another continuation of that. When you read the transportation plan, it's, we have a concept, and I'm serious, that's what it said. There's a conceptual idea about how to handle requests after planning, planning process of development proposals have been made. We need to be thinking about this now, and that's why I'm opposed to this. I also have a quick thing. The Community Standards District thing was a total surprise to those of us in View Park and Windsor Hills. So I'm totally opposed to folding this into a plan without people actually having a chance to comment on that particular part of it.
Thank you for your comment. We will have Louise Thomas. Please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Louise Thomas Bichard. Good morning, all, and thank you. I have proudly called Ladera Heights my home since the 1990s, while my husband, John Bichard, has been a resident since the early 1960s. We're deeply appreciative of this neighborhood and of our neighbors, and I of the opportunities this city and state has provided me. I recognize the times have changed, and we've seen shifts in our communities, including increased population and the accompanying traffic congestion. None of us is opposed to change itself as a fact of life, and all of us understand state mandates. However, I must express this morning that this plan in its current form is fundamentally flawed and needs to be halted pending meaningful community engagement and discussion. I have witnessed similar misguided assessments and plans in European cities, where such housing initiatives often serve political ambitions and enrich developers, often overlooking the needs of ordinary residents, and decimate the deep, rich, and historic culture of the community. From my experience, neighborhoods do not recover from such harm. They are lost forever. Therefore, I stand in opposition to today's vote and respectfully request a postponement. The Regional Housing Needs Assessment, RHNA, is flawed, as apparently acknowledged by the Director of LA County Planning, an expert in the field. The issues of environmental impact, and of course common sense tells us that that will be significant, contrary to what we've heard. And the lack of accurate current housing occupancy numbers must be addressed before we can all engage in impactful collaboration to find effective solutions to our housing crisis. We would always have been willing to collaborate. So thank you for your time this morning and in advance for your decision to postpone this vote this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I have Rhonda Foster, Jan Davis, and Clarice McGee? We will begin with Rhonda Foster. Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Foster.
Can you, yeah. Let's go ahead and switch.
That doesn't appear to be working. Okay. Yes, hello. My name is Rhonda Foster. I'm resident of View Park, and my family has lived there since 1969. And essentially, I'm here asking you to postpone the vote today, considering all that is being brought forth. And it's so important from the standpoint of, as the lady just before me said, the impact that it will have on the community for generations. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Jan Davis. Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Jan Davis. I'm a Ladera Heights Civic Association board member. I've been a resident in the community since 1993. I oppose this project. It has a negative impact on our community. I'm asking for a postponement of the vote, an extension to be requested. RHNA is flawed. The Ladera Heights Center is our anchor in our community. It is a gathering place, provides shopping and jobs to our local community. Leave it as it is. The recommendation that I'm making, if housing has to come to the community, is to develop the small shopping center south of the Ladera Center, and also the Marshall Spectrum Center southeast of the Ladera Center. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for listening to our commentary and our requests.
Thank you. We have Clarice. Please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. It's Dr. Carlos McGee. I serve on the Inglewood School Board as its president. And for us to continue to build in that area, it impacts our school and it impacts the safety of our children. There was a huge development when we put all of that housing where the Centinela Drive-In was. That was an impact. Now we've got cars coming off of Centinela, going through the resident, which really causes a disturbance for our school district. I'm asking this morning that you postpone, that you look at the RHNA, which is the regional housing assessment tool that is used to determine whether or not we can build a certain amount of housing in that area. But as a school board member and a parent that has lived in Ladera since 1981, it would be a detriment to our students. So today I'm asking that you postpone it. Thank you for having us and thank you for listening.
Can I have Diana Zimmerman and Davis Oliver? Diana, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Diana Zimmerman, and I want to thank Commissioner Duarte White and Commissioner Hastings for asking such intelligent and wonderful and seemingly caring questions about what we do. I've lived in Ladera Heights since 1968. I struggled to keep my house. I've struggled to live there, and it is a wonderful community. I wonder why those of you that are in this commission want to destroy our community. And the only thing I can come up with is that it's a very racist thing, because if this were Truesdale Estates, you would not be doing this. If this were some of the other areas where there's a lot of very upscale, you probably would not be doing this. Now, I understand the state says that, but does the state know that the RHNA is flawed? Do all of you know that? Do you know that it's flawed, that Amy, let me get her name here, that Ms. Broadway actually said it was flawed on ABC News? Do you know that? And also, I want you to know that there are over 1,000 empty apartments just in this area alone. Do you know that? I know it because I went out and looked. How many of you have actually gone to our community? How many of you tried to drive down Slauson Avenue or Centinela at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? We just took a bus ride here that took us almost as long to get down La Cienega because of the traffic congestion. You haven't looked into that. You don't even consider that, from what I understand. So I want to see an environmental impact study that is a real environmental impact study. The pollution that is going to be created, we don't have enough water in our community now, and none of you are considering that. It is just sad. So we must postpone this until we get a real legitimate forecast of what we're doing. Thank you.
Davis Oliver, please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, good morning. I'm David Oliver. I'm a 68-year, second-generation resident homeowner in Ladera Heights and former president of the Ladera Heights Civic Association. And I'm here today to appeal to you to postpone, at the very least, postpone the vote on this proposed plan. We all acknowledge that there's no simple solution here. No simple fix for the housing needs in the state of California, yet this plan seems like it was an attempt at a simple fix, probably promulgated by the state's, what I believe is an unfair mandate and timeline to get this done after decades of neglecting the issue. I wish that the county had taken the position to fight the state on the timing. I don't know that they haven't, but I've not heard anything about it. The thing that the 2 points I wanted to make is that the traffic, the congestion and the infrastructure, which I believe Commissioner Hastings pointed out, is a big issue. To me, what this plan is doing is the equivalent of trying to pour a gallon bottle of milk into a half-gallon container when it comes to Ladera Heights and View Park. So again, I just want to urge you, I don't want to keep repeating what everybody else has said or will be saying, but want to urge you to consider postponing the vote. Thank you.
Can we have Sandra Hale and Dwayne Lyons?
Okay, hi.
Sandra, please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Sandra Hale, and I've lived in Ladera Heights for decades, and I want to talk about traffic, okay? The traffic will be a major issue. The standard measurement, like the vehicle miles traveled, instead of the actual numbers of vehicles that travel along the corridors, is grossly misleading and will cause major issues. And I'm not opposed to rezoning. I'm not opposed to growth, but let's make it make sense, okay? And the area is already congested, and that's going to bring more issues to our community. And we know the infrastructure is not there. So I just want you to, just think about, the impact that it would be on Ladera Heights and surrounding communities. So I'm just here to say, let's please postpone the vote. And thank you again for having us. And it's a pleasure being here. And I hope we all can come to an understanding of the communities. Thank you for having me.
Dwayne Lyons, please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Dwayne Lyons. First of all, let me thank the staff for the work that they've done on this, but frankly, I think it's unfortunate that much of the work that the staff has done does not address the concerns of the community. Now, you've heard, and Commissioner Hastings noted, that the proposed plan would add 12,000, as many as 12,000 residents to this area. What is unique about this particular plan, and what is not necessarily clear, is that that increase in population revolves around 2 specific sites. The sites on Slauson Boulevard and the Ladera Center. So you're intending to increase by 12,000 people a community that has no more than 9,000 or 10,000 people in the community already. That's just fundamentally flawed. More importantly, there's been no attempt to address the other part of the Ladera Center, which is bounded by the Los Angeles City. And so in addition to increasing the population in the Ladera Center that's county specific, you would add potentially people in Los Angeles City because the zoning that they're proposing is unlimited height. So when you look at that and you look at the location of where this site is, La Cienega Boulevard, Centinela Boulevard, La Tijera Boulevard, is probably the most congested area that we have. We only have entrance into our community via Slauson or Centinela, and it's bounded by La Cienega. And you're going to increase the traffic in that area significantly. I would urge you to reconsider this plan, to find locations in addition to other areas of the community to increase density. We understand density is important and you have to make changes, but increasing the density in our community at this level, given the limited locations, is fundamentally flawed.
Thank you. We have Tracy Lyons and Carol Rogers. Please step up. Tracy, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Lyons, and I am speaking with you on behalf of the Ladera Heights Civic Association. The Ladera Heights Civic Association has been engaged in this process, and when the community engagement summary references that 1,000 people attended community meetings, that was done primarily in the summer at the urging, in fact, at the demand of the Ladera Heights Civic Association. At those 2 meetings and 1 virtual meeting alone, you had 800 people. And so as you see, you have a community which is engaged and aware. But more importantly, we're a community that really demands equity. We are not opposed to development. We are not opposed to affordable housing. But what we are opposed to is being treated inequitably. And so I really ask that you review, if you've not yet done so, our response to the Westside Area Plan, as well as the EIR. If you simply look at the highlighted issues, you will see that the plan is flawed. Now, I do want to thank the staff, because the staff has engaged with us, and they did eliminate Site 1 and 10. However, Site 1 is a church that is adjacent to single-family homes with no parking. Another site, which was not designated an opportunity site, but is a church in a residential area, was also upzoned and should be removed. And that is St. Mary's Ethiopian Church. The EIR referenced that there were no other churches being upzoned, but that's not correct. And if we take the position that we are trying to create affordable housing, by right, under SB 4, you have the ability to do so. But by modifying the zoning on church sites, you have taken the option of affordable housing and allowed market rate housing. Now, I recognize time's expired, but I do want to respond to the 3 issues raised by the commissioners. Number 1, with regard to Commissioner Duarte, you asked about—
Sorry, your time has expired.
Oh, sorry. But I must say that with regard to saying your hands are tied, your hands are not tied. Just where you put the density is the issue.
Comment. Carol, please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Carol Rogers, and that's without a D. I'm here to ask for the postponement of at least the 10 months for the vote on the final environmental report and Westside Area Plan WSAP project. As it stands, it will negatively impact our quality of life in our entire communities, Windsor Hills, Ladera Heights, and View Park. I've been a registered voter in Ladera Heights for over 25 years, as well as my family. I also have the experience of working in law enforcement in the area. And over 30 years, it took about 30 years with the building of Upper Ladera, with the expansion in Marina Del Rey, for us to get even additional law enforcement. We got an additional car, which is a 2-person car. So right now you're talking about bringing, I think Mr. Hastings said, 10 to 12,000 people in a 1.5 person household. That math is just not mathing, because most of these households would need more than 1.5 people to pay the exorbitant rents that are being charged now. So we're looking at maybe an additional between 12 and 20,000 additional people. But where's the law enforcement going to be increased? You talked about the plans that we have for that community development, and it doesn't include that. So we are looking at our quality of life. And as it stands now, it's pretty poor as far as the exorbitant prices that we pay, our property taxes, and everything else. So again, I ask that you postpone this vote so that we can further take it to the state, since the state is mandating this before February. So please do not vote today, postpone it. Thank you.
Can we have James Chitty and Ellen Deleston come forward, please?
Good morning. Thank you for having us. My name is Ellen Deleston, for the record. First of all, the first flaw began with the title called Westside Area Plan. Many of the neighbors threw away the initial card that was sent because it said West Side. For many, many years, we never considered ourselves to be the West Side. I was at the first meeting that was held via Zoom. There were only 13 community members at that meeting. I think you need to look at the attendance records, which only piked up after our civic association and our community members got involved this summer. I've been at most of the meetings. I'm opposed today for the vote for the Westside Area Plan and the final environmental report. We need an extension to reevaluate and correct the flawed RHNA calculation used for housing units. How can 9,000 out of 9,000 units, 9,000 units, 67,000 of those units are going to be placed in our small community. The addition of these units will greatly impact the neighborhood and environment, and we don't want to minimize the environmental impact and the report that addresses the significant and unavoidable impacts on air quality, noise, and transportation. It took us over 35 minutes to travel from Centinela to the freeway going down La Cienega. God forbid there be an emergency, an earthquake. How will we handle this increase in population? Or will we just be collateral damage? I beg you to please hold your vote. Let us re-examine this. Let us reassess what needs to happen. I'm sad that now we're realizing we needed community involvement prior to developing the plan, as it were.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Tony McDonald and Gwendolyn Randolph, please come forward. Tony, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Tony McDonald. Good morning. My name is Tony McDonald, and I'm Board President of United Homeowners Association 2. You have received UHA's responses, several written responses from neighbors unable to attend today, and you are hearing testimony concerning the Westside Area Plan. It is important we emphasize that Windsor Hills View Park is not simply a neighborhood included in the plan, but we are a community of over 4,500 proud residents who love and cherish its uniqueness. What's more, we are determined to protect our community from hazards and risks that would disrupt our safety, well-being, and historical fabric, not only for ourselves and future generations, but in homage to our parents and those brave people who fought racism for us to move here and remain in our homes safely and peacefully. But kindly know, we are not a community opposed to development. We are a community focused on land use policies that are balanced and effective to ensure we can preserve and protect the best features of our community while simultaneously allowing for additional and/or expanded uses in areas where such uses make sense. Regarding the state mandate, UHA rejects the concept embodied in recent state laws allowing state government to make local land use planning and zoning decisions and minimizing the ability of local government and communities to do their own planning. Successful planning policy requires involvement of all key stakeholders with transparency, accountability, and predictable and enforceable outcomes with an emphasis on local government input. To achieve this requires new legislation or other legal action to rebalance the planning process and put local communities back in charge of their own planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Gwendolyn, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Gwendolyn Randolph. I'm also the owner and co-owner of Chambers on Slauson. I'm here to oppose today's vote for the final environment report and the Westside Area Plan project. I'm respectfully requesting the Los Angeles County Regional Planning Commission to postpone the flawed regional housing needs assessment formula used to calculate housing unit allocation needs to be corrected. The need for reform of the RHNA formula has been a long-standing issue for several years. A 10-month extension would provide Ladera Heights, Windsor Hills, and View Park residents with the opportunity to collaborate with our California State Representative, the boards of supervisors, and the county planning department to correct the flawed regional housing need assessment formula used to calculate the housing allocations. During the recent Ladera Heights Community Walk, Amy Bodock, director of the LA County Regional Planning, agreed that the RHNA formula is flawed and needs to be reformed. In fact, Mrs. Bodock stated this has been a persistent concern in the planning department for a while. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. John Kent and Andrew Selmian, please come forward. We'll begin with John. Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is John W. Kent, and I'm here to oppose today's vote for the final environmental report on the West Side area. I respectfully request the Los Angeles County Regional Planning Commission to postpone this area flawedly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Andrew Salimian. I'm representing the Los Angeles Conservancy today. I want to thank the staff for taking our comments, participating in the community walk with some of the neighbors last week. My comments are really about the historic value of Ladera Heights, which is a really important neighborhood for its diversity, for its history, and for its design. we're hearing a lot about the rezoning, but this neighborhood is seeing a lot of change in the single-family areas as well. There's a lot of speculation, house flipping going on. So I think it's really imperative that a survey is done. There's a historic context statement, but a survey needs to be done to identify historic places in this neighborhood associated with important people who lived here, but also a lot of the design that's there that makes Ladera so special. And I do have one site that I am going to ask that we look at again, and it's the Jet Inn site on Slauson. It was built in 1959 at the time of the jet age. LAX was being constructed at the time and its new modern ideal, and a lot of Ladera kind of lives up to this ideal of jet age modernism. Right now it's being singled out as mixed use, and we're asking that it remain C2 and additional sites be identified. I think it's important to kind of balance what makes Ladera special and also allow for new development. I don't know if the plan is doing that completely successfully, but we can try, and I think you can push this a little further. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Angela Sherrick-Bright and Daphne Bradford. Please come forward. Angela, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Angela Sherrick-Bright, and I'm the Land Use Chair for United Homeowners Association. And we are in opposition of the inclusion of the new planning area standard district without public input. The WESAP creates CSDs for View Park, Delray, and Windsor Hills, and Ladera Heights without any public input. UHA questions why CSD ordinance was included without the discussion with the community. There are 26 other CSDs in unincorporated Los Angeles County. All of these went through extensive process in which the community, organizations, and members of the community collaborated with regional planning staff to determine what should be included in those CSD documents. However, in this case, UHA, Ladera, and Delray were not given the same opportunity. Regional planning has touted its outreach efforts concerning the WESAP. In this area, they have fallen short. The process has not been equitable and in essence has been unfair. UHA requests that WESAP be postponed for 3 months to give the county an opportunity to reach out to the affected communities. I also want to comment on the comment that Commissioner Moon stated about hands being tied with regard to timing for the completion of the report. We know that the state has put a lot of pressure on the county to get this done within a certain time period. However, while your hands are tied, you're not tied in terms of location. We haven't looked at Marina Del Rey. We haven't looked at Westwood. And with respects to the VA building, there are units that are going to be put in those areas that should be counted against Ladera, View Heights, and View Park. So we would like you to take a second look and again, maybe postpone the approval of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Daphne, go ahead and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Daphne Bradford, a 32-year resident of Ladera Heights, and I'm also the founder of BLIP, the Bipartisan Lincoln Independent Project, bringing people in the community together on common causes such as this. I do want to say that the planning team has been very wonderful. I organized the recent community walk. The story aired on Channel 7 last night. That community walk should have happened first. During the walk, I mentioned that the RHNA formula is flawed, and Director Amy Bodek publicly agreed, and we couldn't believe it. She says they've been trying to get this thing fixed and address it. Well, we want to do that. So I did communicate this to Supervisor Mitchell's office because she comes from the state and she was there when a lot of these housing laws were formed. And I'm going to fight this all the way to the state after today, because how can you consciously, knowing that it's flawed, pass this plan? How can you consciously approve the EIR, which we need, knowing that RHNA is flawed and you don't have a true EIR? So I'm asking for a 10-month postponement. A no vote today, or just a postponement for now until we can address that and work together. And all of these people here, when I educated them about RHNA on the way here, and I will continue to do that because collectively, we need to fight the state and go to the state to fix that. And if it takes the unfair assessment and allocation of housing in Ladera Heights to save this entire state and reform that RHNA formula, then so be it. Let's collaborate, negotiate, collaborate, and do that together. This staff has been wonderful, but that community walk should have happened first because I was able to get the city planning, the county planning, the conservancy, and residents together, and we had fun. You need to see those pictures. I did submit them in my comment, and thank you all for listening. Please postpone.
Thank you. Can I have Anton Cropper and Jamie Bailey come forward? Anton, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Anton Cropper, I'm a Ladera Heights resident. I will just start with 1st of March of 2023, where I first met Juliam at the Safety Traffic Commission meeting, where she specifically told me that she had no way of contacting anyone in Ladera Heights. She had made attempts, but had no point person whatsoever. So it's fitting that the community engagement summary is up on the board right now because this is misleading. As you asked earlier, 387 responses were made to 6,300 flyers. Majority of Ladera residents I've spoken with never received those flyers. They were unaware of them. The only engagement in the very beginning was sending out flyers, or if you were signed up to the county's email. That's the only way. The 1,000 people that have attended were in the last couple months because of the outrage and feeling as if this was being pulled as a wool over our eyes. So this was not an engagement that took place over the course of a year and a half. This was 2 months of the community standing up for itself. So please take that into consideration, that this is very misleading. Second, in terms of traffic, this has been something we've been fighting for a long time. I've been talking to the county since 2019 and nothing has been done. And in an email from January 24th of this year, Public Works said, Public Works is aware of the community's concern with non-community members using residential streets in Lower Ladera Heights as a cut-through to avoid traffic congestion on some of the adjacent arterial streets. As these public streets are open to all motorists, access cannot be legally restricted only to local residents. Any project to close or significantly reroute traffic flows would require additional studies into environmental impacts to ensure compliance with state regulations such as the California Environmental Quality Act. The process to navigate environmental impacts can be lengthy with uncertain outcomes, so it was decided that it was best to not include this scope for the community traffic safety plan efforts. It was decided to not take into account the traffic and the safety of Lower Ladera when doing this. That was a decision that was made. So this is truly, truly flawed because Ladera has a traffic crisis.
Thank you for
in the
your
residential
comment. Your time has
area.
expired.
Thank you.
Jamie, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Jamie Bailey. I'm a resident of View Park. And I just want to say I agree with everyone here. Traffic is insane. My children go to school in Culver City. There's an education issue where we live at. There's construction along Crenshaw, which is insane. There's going to be construction around King and then again on Coliseum and La Brea. You're surrounding us already with massive construction, massive. No one is taken in, as I mentioned before, do you have a census of all of the buildings that have already been constructed that remain unoccupied, but we continue to build. And you know there's going to be a health issue, but you're willing to risk us for some extra people to move in, making us more congested, more construction, more densifying the area. You know there's a public health risk. You know there's a traffic issue, and none of these issues have been resolved. When I looked at the revision that you have, the To resolve some of it was to do a van pool, which is ridiculous because we're not all going to the same areas, and you're not considering families. You're looking at this as if they're just single people moving in. There are families that live in these areas that travel to different locations. So once again, to say we should all take public transportation to go to different areas to drop our kids off or to go to work is just unrealistic. It sounds good, and it would be nice if we lived in that kind of environment, but we don't. We just really need to consider this, because to go to 5 miles to Culver City, it takes me 50 minutes. 50 minutes to go 5 miles. And I can't go down Slauson, 5 in the morning, it's packed. All the way up to all of these areas that should be historic. They're historic communities that you're destroying to put in units, which doesn't make sense. So I'm just asking, please reconsider this. I'm gonna stand with all these people behind me to continue to fight this to the state.
Thank you. Do we have James Chitty? James Chitty? Okay. Can I have Paul Tamaki come forward, please?
Good day. Hello.
Hello, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Paul F. Tamaki, and I live in View Park, California. I just wanted to mention that as a member of UHA2 and also our block club, I try to attend all the meetings in our neighborhood if possible. I've attended most of these meetings online or at Ladera or at the Knox Presbyterian or at the Kenny Hahn Park. And, you know, this is the first, Ms. Thompson, this was the first I've ever heard that this area is going to be established a community standard district as part of this project. From Ms. Thompson today at this meeting. All the meetings that I've gone to, never ever heard anything like that. And then also, I've never heard in conjunction with that, that the new community standard district would be incorporated into our existing Inglewood oil field community standards district, of which we have had issues with as a community in the past. And this kind of just threw me for a loop. One of the emails that I sent to Ms. Young initially was that the meeting that, the second meeting at the Kenny Hahn Park I went to, I believe there were 2 people there. There was myself and another community member. Nobody knew what was going on with this Westside Area Plan. It was misbranded. It should have been called Stalker Street, Ladera Center Rezoning Project from the very get-go. So people would have transparency. They would know this is what this project is talking about. And also, I think moving forward, the people at planning know that they could have done this better. You guys know that we have issues with the state, and all the good people here know that we do not want this project. We want you to postpone it for a different time so we can all get together and have a more healthy dialogue. Thank you much.
Okay, we will now move on to those that have signed up to speak online. We have 6 speakers. We'll begin with Renita Smith. Renita, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to weigh in. My name is Renita Smith. My family has been a resident of Ladera Heights for almost 50 years. And I have stated this at several of the community meetings that it is a vibrantly diverse neighborhood currently and is truly one of the most precious cultural resources in the city of Los Angeles, given its historical importance to the Black community. And I'm referring to Ladera Heights, View Park, and Windsor Hills. What I see happening here appears to be a sort of a stuffing of units into unincorporated areas, and it's appearing that unincorporated areas are underrepresented areas and are undervalued areas. And I would like to make 3 key points. Number 1, I respectfully disagree with the statement that a robust attempt to hear from the community has been made. As several speakers have mentioned, the engagement has been minimal, and even now with the new planning area standards and community standards district, those are being developed without input from our community. I request that that be made. I also, we require greater coordination between LA City and LA County because we are a community that is part city, part county. These two entities are not coordinating with one another, yet decisions are being made that affect our quality of life. There must be coordination and just synergizing between these entities. And then lastly, I request that the Ladera Center, the zoning that now has it at 45 feet instead of 65 feet, I request that Ladera Center be removed as an opportunity site, and also that the state be brought into, or we will bring in the state and take this all the way to the state so that there is true coordination between state, city, and county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have Ashley Moore? Ashley, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Ashley Moore, and I'm a resident in View Park, Windsor Hills. I'm a new resident. I've been here for 4 years. And I just wanted to read from UHA, which we've gathered to have a few talking points, which is that the United Homeowners Association opposes the upzoning of the Slauson corridor because, as the Westside Area Plan has stated, the upzoning may result in the loss of Black businesses that have been in the area for more than 50 years. I think it's important to also respond to Connie Chung. I understand that resource constraints are important as a part of your daily work, but that cannot be a reason to inequitably rezone our area. Adding 100% increase to the total residents will be extremely detrimental to the property value that we have here, to access to emergency services. And so my request is to postpone the vote by 10 months to ensure that we've had adequate time to vet the proposal. That is it.
Thank you. We have Treva Miller. Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes. We will come back. Can I have Andrea Alexander? Andrea, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Andrea Alexander.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a concerned resident of Ladera Heights, and I want to let you all know that we are under attack from your departments and individuals for proposing this upzoning of the Ladera Center and nearby parcels from our community centers. This is a travesty to our neighborhood, and it's going to have a negative impact, and it's going to alter our character and quality of life. We are so opposed to destroying and hurting our lifestyle forever. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned values like leaving well enough alone, not reinventing the wheel? If it's not broke, don't fix it, especially with cities and communities that are working efficiently like Ladera Heights. I had listed a couple of things that I want you to know about, things that would be a detriment to our community. Everyone's mentioned our quality of life. And we know our neighbors on a first name basis. We care about lives. We're familiar with our neighbors. It's good to know when a car comes in the neighborhood, whether they're the bad guys or the good guys are trying to take over our neighborhood or trying to break in our homes. Have you guys looked at the news to see what would happen to families that are walking in parks and taking buses every single day? Women, men, children are being kidnapped, robbed, raped, home invasions. People come into the neighborhood that we don't know. We have no kind of relationship with them. What we're trying to do is to keep the bigger problems out of our cities, because every time I vote, my goal is to get those elected that are individuals that mirror our interests. We know that our power is in the vote, and we take pride in Ladera. I remember as a young child going to work with my mother down Slauson. I told her, one day I'm going to live there. And she said to me, you sure have a big mind. And today, my husband and I have been in Ladera Heights for over 30 years.
Andrea, your time has expired.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Can I have Francine Webster? Francine, please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Francine Webster. I'm a 50-year Ladera Heights resident. I am joining my neighbors in opposing this action for several of the reasons listed before us, but I want to reiterate the solution suggested for traffic is unrealistic. If it was realistic, we would see that all over the city and county of Los Angeles. We do not. I would also I'm not sure where that is coming from, but I would also like to request that there be a joint connection between LA City and LA County. We still have not seen that happen. As mentioned, it concerns all of those areas. We have not addressed education and where these people will go to school. This is important, and I know that that is someone else's department, but all of these departments need to be talking and involving the residents. I also want to state for the record that we have lack of transparency as far as additional developments that could be coming to the area and what is supposed to happen, as mentioned, to families. What about the resources, the water resources, all of these things not adequately addressed? And to make this decision now will be faulty, and the residents will pay for this in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Can I have Treva Miller? Treva, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Treva Miller, and I've been a resident of Ladera for 14 years. And I would like to say that I oppose this. One of the things that should be addressed and has been addressed by other folks is that the state is not mandating where the county has to put this increased density in the Westside area. It simply states that it has to be somewhere within the region. The county planners chose to focus on Ladera Heights and on View Park when there were other alternative locations. And one of the things that came up at one of the in-person meetings was that they ignored the fact that the Ladera Center is in the impact zone for the Inglewood earthquake fault, and that the Ladera Center itself is rated as high risk for liquefaction, which is not an appropriate or safe place to build high-rise buildings. The other thing that was ignored, as the community has submitted recommendations for alternative locations, such as the county yard that is available. But the county planners have in their mind that the Ladera Center and these areas that are in U Park are the only places, and they won't look at any place else. They seem to feel that of the 8 different areas that they had, the only appropriate places to build or disrupt are in the areas that are predominantly African American. And I think this is unjust and inequitable. And I hope that your commission will consider that in your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Janine Esser. Janine, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am a View Park resident, and I just wanted to say that I grew up in apartheid South Africa, and this flawed regional housing plan reminds me of the kind of racist policy that was directed at communities of color in South Africa. Placing 12,000 more residents in the community would place stress on the neighborhoods that are convenient to the white parts of Los Angeles and not to the historic neighborhoods you would destroy. You wouldn't dare do this in the more white neighborhoods of Los Angeles. I mean, would you even think of doing this in Beverly Hills or Bel Air? No. This planning is racism, pure and simple, and I'm totally outraged by the heartless manner in which you are planning to destroy our community. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no additional speakers.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the public input portion of the item. And I guess we'll turn it to staff to see if they have any responses. If there are no comments from staff at this point.
We can respond to the theme that we've heard today,
Okay.
if you'd like us to.
Yes, why don't we do that? And then we'll have questions.
Certainly. I want to first thank the communities for coming out. This has been, frankly, the most respectful community that we have participated in our planning processes recently. And some of the women that we met with recently were surprised at the names that we have been called in other communities. And so I really do want to say thank you. This has been an incredibly respectful conversation with this community. And that doesn't mean we agree, but I cannot tell you how much we appreciate this as staff. I want to start with the big picture, which is RHNA. And I absolutely did say and do agree that the RHNA process is flawed. We were assigned a RHNA number as a region of 1.6 million homes or units that had to be constructed. And it was up to SCAG to determine how that number was going to be allocated. We were given an allocation of 90,053 or 90,052, excuse me. And the city of Los Angeles was given an allocation of somewhere north of 450,000. There was an appeal period, but it was a joke of an appeal period. A couple of cities got to have, a couple of units shifted, but it was nothing specific. There is a discussion at the state level for RHNA reform because all jurisdictions in the state of California are faced with this issue. So we absolutely agree that it is a very flawed process. It is a process, however, that has consequences if the county does not respond accordingly. And those are consequences that the county cannot afford. The consequences include freezing of all state funding and grants for road structure, infrastructure, for housing grants, for affordable housing construction. So there are serious consequences to all jurisdictions. The state is suing jurisdictions for non-compliance with their housing element. As you know, we did approve a housing element and the board approved a housing element in 2022, and it had to be certified by the state of California. The state of California required a very detailed anti-racist agenda in that housing element. They required us to comply with federal guidelines for affirmatively affirming fair housing. And that requires us to look at high resource rich areas to put housing. That means housing that is near jobs, that means housing that is near schools, that is near infrastructure. State housing element law also does not allow us to put housing in very high fire hazard severity zones. It does not allow us to put it in areas that don't have any water, like the Antelope Valley, areas like that. As a jurisdiction, and just for a reminder for everyone, we only have authority over the unincorporated portions of LA County. We do not have authority over Westwood, that's in the city of Los Angeles. We don't have authority over Beverly Hills. We don't have authority over the VA, the Veterans Administration site. Even though that is within the unincorporated part of LA County, we cannot rezone that because it is federally controlled and owned. But we can and did include an allocation of RHNA specifically for both Marina Del Rey and for the Veterans Administration. Neither of those locations require a rezoning. We have rezoned other locations, and Ladera is just, not just Ladera, excuse me, the Ladera View Park in Windsor Hills and West Fox Hills area that we're talking about today is just one of the several planning areas that we have rezoned or are in process of doing. Just going to give you an idea of what we've already done. Florence Firestone has been rezoned to include an additional 8,100 units, and that was done in February of 2023. The Gateway area, which is the, South LA region, where we have unincorporated properties, 5,700 residential units. That was done in November of 2023. The Metro Area Plan, which includes sort of central LA, 17,755 units. That was adopted in May of this year. East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan was adopted in May of this year as well, 7,500 units. The South Bay Area Plan, which is much smaller, 5,300 units. That is planned and will be coming towards you. This is the Westside Area Plan. And then the West San Gabriel Valley Area Plan, which is coming to you as well, is about 6,200 units. All told, somewhere around 56,000 units. Then we add in the VA, then we add in Marina Del Rey, and then we add in what we already had capacity for, and we get to the 90,000 number. So it is not that we are picking on one single area. It is that we are required by law to consolidate all of these units essentially within LA Basin. And within LA Basin, unincorporated areas do not have a lot of land that are available. I do want to address that we are not touching single-family zoning anywhere in any of these area plans. This area included, we've not touched single-family zoning in any of those, and we do not intend to. There have been calls by housing advocates and state legislature to do away with single-family zoning, and you have seen some of that happening with the ADU laws and SB 9 that allows property to split, but we are not really participating in that voluntarily, I will say. As I said, we're not able to rezone the VA, and the Westwood in Beverly Hills are not within our jurisdiction. We are rezoning Marina Del Rey, though. I would say there is a legitimacy to the lack of coordination between the city and the county. That is something that we are able to do on a planning department basis, but there is a lot of coordination that has to happen between the two entities as a whole. They have different political structures and different priorities, which do make it difficult. But I will tell you that Connie and I and a couple of other senior management meet quarterly with the planning department, and our next quarterly meeting is actually today. They have completed their rezoning of this area already through their housing element. They did that 2 weeks ago, where they went to the city council and did all of their rezonings. They have a different process where they did their rezonings and then are coming back for a community plan. We did it concurrently, and our community plan is a baseline where we can continue to have discussions with the community, but we did it concurrently. The city of LA thinks it could take anywhere from 2 to 8 years for them to finish all of their community plans. We don't have the luxury of that time, and so we had combined our community plan with our rezoning effort. The city of LA did not. The city of LA rezoned their properties 2 weeks ago because we are all on a statutory deadline of February 12th. Members of this community asked what they could do to help, and I absolutely encourage them to talk to their state legislators, because it is a statutory deadline that we must comply with, or we are out of compliance and immediately lose access to grants until we are back in compliance. The last thing I heard was traffic, and we absolutely agree, and I think all of you would agree that traffic is an issue. There is definitely some cut-through traffic that we experienced as well, and they are surrounded by major arterial corridors in these neighborhoods. There is a community safety traffic plan that has been prepared by Public Works in response to community traffic's concerns, as well as some significant accidents that occurred in this general area. We are trying to coordinate with Public Works to get those folks into the community and share those community traffic safety plans. And then we have some suggestions as well on key intersections or key improvements that I think the community would like to see and that the community could give them additional feedback on. Let's see what else. There was a last question of impact fees and schools and things like that. So we do plan for infrastructure, and that is something that Connie mentioned. You know, we just got a grant from the federal government to do infrastructure planning in these very same areas. And so the federal government recognizes the investment that we're putting in, and they're putting money in for us as well. Any new development that comes in, new private development that comes in, is required to pay impact fees. Those include impact fees for schools, those include impact fees for sewer, impact fees for traffic improvements as well. Part of our capital improvement planning is to look at where those improvements need to go, and then they get funded through the impact fees or through grants that we get from the state and federal government. So this is an issue. I would say one of the concerns that we have heard is that, you know, we are doing a lot of things that are required of us by the state, and that is not something that the Board of Supervisors has said that we can ignore. And so we are following state law, and the board has chosen to do that, and ultimately it is their decision whether they want us to continue to do that. But I'm fairly certain, I know the answer is going to be yes. If we do not follow state law and we do not get these rezonings done, there is something called builder's remedy. And builder's remedy means that once we are out of compliance with our housing element on February 13th, we will be subject to builder's remedy. And that means any developer can come in on any parcel and decide what they want to build regardless of the zoning. And so we know of other cities that have been subject to builder's remedy. We know of other cities that have fought those projects, have been sued by the state and have lost. And so we do not want to be a county or a jurisdiction that allows that worst case scenario to happen. So I believe I've covered most of the comments that I heard. Happy to answer questions. And again, I want to tell you, this community has been, frankly, the best community to work with. You've heard some of the names we've been called in other communities. So again, I greatly appreciate the professionalism within which we have been treated. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some questions.
Yes.
Start with Commissioner Moon.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning. I feel your pain because my office is located on the corner of Slauson and Buckingham. So I know it's a traffic jam over there. It's terrible. Can we, if we postpone this, I'm in favor of postponing it. If we postpone it, can we do it for 60 days?
We actually cannot. We have a board date already scheduled because we actually have to go to the board and then we have to go back to the board a second time. So given the calendar, we don't have the ability to postpone this.
Okay, Commissioner Duarte White.
That actually was my question regarding the timing. We already know that the formula has given us many challenges, but can you walk me through the actual timeline? What can we do? There are issues that were brought up, Amy. One by the gentleman Andrew from the LA Conservancy. They know full well that we have a historic preservation ordinance, and you don't have to be the owner to to nominate a property. And so there's a process there in place for the Mills Act, for that protection of that historic place. The traffic concerns, the Public Works actual response regarding the arterial streets and the traffic plan, perhaps if working in conjunction with that and the community to get their input, could have some kind of adjustments in line. With regard to the capital improvement projects, is there any way that we can infuse community response? So those were I think all my notes. There were 26 speakers, and I tried to write notes on every one of them, but there was one more. But that captures my thoughts at this point.
Certainly. We were overjoyed to see the beauty of the neighborhood, because I do go on Slauson, I do go on La Tierra and La Cienega, but I don't actually cut through the neighborhoods. So to walk around the neighborhoods, and frankly, neighbors were coming out and talking to us, and we were invited into someone's home, which was incredibly gracious. There is some general support, I think, for gentle density, and there are frankly a lot of triplexes and duplexes in those neighborhoods as well as single-family homes, and we'd like to retain the character of that residential. So I think what we could ask of you is that you include in your recommendation to the board that we do additional work on cultural preservation, cultural capital preservation as well. Because we did hear about historically Black businesses, and that's something that Connie and I have been talking about for a number of years, actually. And has started to engage a consultant in figuring out how to explore supporting cultural capital to preserve existing legacy businesses in ethnically diverse areas. And that's something that with our new Department of Economic Development, there may be an opportunity for us to do that in the past. I would absolutely agree that we should be a part of the discussions with Public Works on traffic. We just started reviewing their community traffic safety plan and are having discussions with them about how they would implement those programs and how we can liaise with the community on their behalf as well. Connie is going to answer the CIP question related to community engagement. And you are more than welcome to make recommendations that we would include in our response to the board and ask them to consider those recommendations when it gets to the board.
Thank you. I would like to do that.
If I could just add to Director Bodek's comments. So on historic preservation, something that you've seen in other area plans as well as this one is that we do concurrently develop a historic context statement, which is a good foundational document that sets the stage for doing a survey to identify properties in a community that have the potential to be nominated as a county landmark. So that is a very important component of the Westside Area Plan. But even today, as you mentioned, Commissioner, there is the opportunity for any member of the public or anyone to nominate the property as well as the county. So we've developed a historic preservation program over the years, and we want to continue to strengthen it. And having the historic context statements and looking at the important people and events properties that contribute to the historic importance of a community is something that this plan does highlight. Amy mentioned the community traffic or community safety traffic plan that was developed for View Park, Windsor Hills, and Ladera Heights neighborhoods that came as a result of an unfortunate traffic incident that I think revealed that there are safety concerns from a traffic perspective, and that was initiated by a board motion from the supervisor. So the team has been working with the team at Public Works, and one of the features of that community safety plan is identifying infrastructure improvements that could help and contribute to the to make the community safer. Just to connect that with the capital improvement plan, that is an example of how we could actually prioritize, schedule, and identify how we're going to finance these improvements. So, and I'll just add that community engagement, again, that is a core component of the CIPs. We'll be doing CIPs, I mentioned, for all of the area plans that are coming before you. And I will underscore that, again, it's not just identifying and planning, actually planning the infrastructure based on the land use changes, but also an assessment of those existing conditions. So I think we heard, and I've experienced myself personally, some of the frustrating traffic-related issues that have been brought up today. And there's an opportunity to look at that as a whole. And I'll just say, just as a county employee, I think this might be the first infrastructure plan that we've ever seen. So it is a really exciting time. And I think, you know, we heard a lot of frustration from the community about what we could have done better on outreach. And we fully acknowledge that. We know that there's always room for improvement. And there are a lot of lessons learned that we can apply in this next iteration of our outreach.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. I have one last thing. I agree with you. I think we can always improve. And I can truly say that in the last 3 years, I have seen a great improvement on the department's effort to engage the community. One of the suggestions that was made, I don't know how many, maybe a year ago, was on your postcards, because we know that it's a mailing expense and what that entails, and that those become limitations to us, right? But in your postcards and flyers, if you can visibly state so that it's not in the little tiny print, please pass this on to your neighbor. Please circulate this among your groups or what, you know, stakeholders, community stakeholders, so that our intent is made clear that we want and encourage public discourse. And so I too need to thank all of those who made the effort to call or to be here in person to voice their opinion and to have their voice heard, but acted upon, I think is what they're looking for. Given the time constraints, whoever would make the motion, if they could be so kind as to amend it to include the cultural and cultural capital preservation suggestion that you made, I would be most grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hastings.
A couple of things, if I could work backwards. First of all, a couple of the callers that called in and said that we were targeting Black neighborhoods and this is a race-based situation. I will tell you, I hear this all over California. It's not just here. It's Beverly Hills, it's Burbank, it's everywhere. RHNA numbers are everywhere. So it's not, we're not picking and choosing neighborhoods. We're forced to do this by the state. In looking at the comments that were made, the collaboration with the city of Los Angeles, I think, is a very big point to make. And maybe through the Board of Supervisors, they can use their clout, because you've got 5 women that are probably the most powerful body in probably all of California when it comes to money and representing people. So we should get them engaged in that with the city of Los Angeles. When Ms. Bodek brought up the fact that we did not touch your zoning for residential housing, the state has. So you need to also be educated on that. Your single-family residential property now can have an ADU or 2 or 2.5 or 3, predicated on the size. So your density in your own neighborhoods, just through residential upzoning from the state of California, has been increased. It's not will be, it has been. The NIMBYism, not in my backyard, I have never, and I'll have to share what Ms. Bodek said. I'm so used to people coming in and saying, how dare you do this to us? Most of you, the majority of you, even the letters have said, we're with you, but can we be a part of it? We understand we have to change. We understand there has to be development, but can we all work together to do it? I can't tell you how much I appreciate hearing that. I'm not a voting member of the Board of Supervisors, but I'm sure they would look at what you have to say and be enriched by your kind of input, because that's what we want to hear from. When you yell at us and scream at us and yell at our staff and scream at our staff, I'm not going to say we don't hear you, but it's disrespectful. We respect you, and I will tell you, I will apologize for any of the staff that you believe shorted you. I will stand behind this staff. I've never worked with the staff. I've come from local government. I deal with local government all the time. This is the most responsive planning staff I've ever worked with in my career. And as you can tell from my gray hair, I've been around quite a long time. The other thing is, we keep talking about the state. Well, the state is us. We vote. And those people are the state in Sacramento. So this may be a little bit bold, but as the supervisor I work with knows me, maybe it's time that the Board of Supervisors gets bold with us and says, we don't agree with these RHNAs, and I understand completely, I understand completely their risk. We don't want to lose the funding that is our funding, and that's punitive. And government is not here to be punitive, it's here to work with us. So maybe within the motion, our motion is that the Board of Supervisors takes a stand at their very next meeting saying, these RHNA numbers are unsustainable, and unless or until we have infrastructure plans that can meet those numbers, they can fight the state. I know it's not pie in the sky, because we're here to fight government if we don't agree with it. So if these 5 women up here that sit here in the Board of Supervisors, who I have tremendous respect for, can stand up and say at their next meeting, everybody wants this postponed, we've heard it, and I can't speak for my colleagues, but we believe in what you're saying. But we need a stronger voice. For all of you to pick up the phone and call your state representative, good luck. But for these 5 people, if we could get them to do it, let's see if we can't put that in the motion and ask for that. But again, thank you all for coming and appreciate all of you. Thank you. Please don't clap.
Okay, Mr. Vice Chair Louie.
Thank you very much, Chair. When this project was first coming before us a year plus ago, I took a very particular interest in it. This is the community I grew up in. I'm old enough to remember riding my bicycle around the Baldwin Hills Dam when there was water in the dam. And so I've monitored the progress on this project with a special emphasis on making sure that there was community outreach. Connie and Amy have restructured the department as far as putting that as a priority and then executing that. And I think your participation, your visibility, your comments are a reflection of that outreach. It's not perfect. but it's outstanding. So thank you very much for your participation, and thank you to the department in particular for the community outreach efforts that you all have done. And looking at the final product, this project, it's very well done. It's taken into consideration the concerns of the community. It's reflected changes that have been proposed that you were able to integrate into the project. And I think it's reflective of the guidelines that we were given with, the RHNA restrictions and guidance that they've provided really limit us to what we are able to do and what we are required to do. So to that end, I think the project is very, very nicely done. Commissioner Hastings raises an issue that Executive Director Bodek highlighted, and that a question that I would have raised, it should raise, and that is this forum, is this project the right place strategically to criticize and oppose the RHNA requirements? Strategically, does it make any sense for us to not agree with this proposal and give the county the basis to move forward with the fight with the state?
That is absolutely up to you as a decision maker. You can choose not to support this project, and then it still goes to the Board of Supervisors. I would say that the Board of Supervisors would be very cautious about poking the state at this time. But I think it is well within the realm of feasibility for you to recommend that the Board of Supervisors strongly take a position on RHNA reform, so that we are not in this same place 6 years from now when we have to redo our housing element. There are state discussions going on about that, but there's been nothing concrete for the county to respond to through our legislative process, but it is well within your right to provide recommendations to the board on things like RHNA reform.
So we could approve this project with the additional comments regarding RHNA.
Absolutely. It would be not dissimilar to what Commissioner Duarte White is asking, that your recommendation, assuming you approve it, if you were to approve it, your recommendation would also include additional recommendations. And right now, I have that the board consider ways to encourage or implement programs related to cultural capital preservation for legacy businesses, conducting a historic survey in particular for these communities to see if there's any ability to do historic districts or Mills Act contracts. I heard a recommendation for the board to find a way to collaborate more with the city of LA on big picture items. And then if you so choose to ask the board to strongly take a stand on supporting RHNA reform.
Please keep notes on that.
I'm keeping notes.
Okay, thank you.
And
thank you. Please.
I just want to comment on the RHNA reform.
Okay.
Quickly, because that's under SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, and I believe they have a process that's probably already started, and 2 of the county supervisors sit on the SCAG Regional Council, so it is something that we can influence, we as a county.
I'll just quickly add, that as part of our recommendation or our package to the Board of Supervisors, we do include a statement of proceedings. So a summary of the discussions and the issues and concerns that have been raised will be part of that record. So the motions are, I would recommend seeing them more as a directive or to further highlight what you would like to see as part of your action. But all of this is captured for the board.
Well, Connie, are you suggesting that these suggestions and ideas will be included irrespective of what the actual motion concludes?
That's correct, as part of your statement of proceedings.
And yet, as far as significance, including it as part of the motion probably would be more significant. Yeah.
Yes, should you choose to make the motion that's on the board, I would also suggest that you tell us to highlight the issues. In addition, what Connie is saying, that everything that you've talked about is going to be captured. But if you wanted to highlight those 4 issues, we would include paragraphs in the board letter specific to those 4 issues.
I have those 4 issues. Yeah, I was just going to say, didn't include my comments regarding transportation or regarding an effort to infuse community input into that capital improvement project, because I think that's the only element left, right?
So the capital improvement project is a completely separate process. You're directing us to do that. That's not part of this specific action. But if you wanted to include it, we can include it. If that makes you more comfortable, we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. One last comment, and then Chair, I will give up the speaker for you. Connie, I hear on a regular basis the community outreach, and one area that I think could improve is that we typically reach out to the assessor's office to get the ownership. And we miss an entire group of folks, all the people who are tenants in those communities. And I will make the suggestion that the department consider reaching out to the registrar of voters to get that mailing list so that we get better coverage for our communities. And with that, Chair, it is yours. Please move forward with any thoughtful comment, and then I'd like to be able to move forward on a motion.
No. I was going to say, I don't have any specific comments other than to point out, well, we get a little feedback here. Other than to point out, as I often do, that while the state may have come down with a heavy hand on how they're doing it, part of the response of the state's recent laws and actions are because communities, cities, and counties over the last 30 or 40 years have put up barriers and obstacles to producing more housing. And again, what was excellent, we were commented by my colleagues and staff how this community is not saying we don't want more housing, but it's a discussion about where to put it, how much and where to put it. That hasn't always happened. That's put us a bit, that has what put us in this position whereby housing has not been built and we need to build it, and the state intervened. So again, if we can work together collaboratively, find ways to figure out where to put the housing and get it built, we will have stronger communities and a stronger county. And as Ms. Bodek had noted about your respect, very glad that you all did calm down and not cheer and clap. But on your way home, certainly encourage you to tell your fellow colleagues what a good job they did in speaking. But we thank you for your being respectful in this public forum today.
Thank you to Mr. Kent for wearing the Dodgers shirt, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. And well, I thank the community for being present, and thank you for all of your input. It's very, very valuable and appreciated. and the department for all the efforts that you've put into it. And my fellow commissioners, thank you very much for your support and guidance. And maybe most of all, the supervisor's office. It was under her leadership and guidance and cooperation with the department that have brought about this motion. So with that, I move that the Regional Planning Commission close the public hearing and recommend certification of the final environmental impact report along with the required findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations with changes as recommended by staff, and adopt the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program for the Westside Area Plan pursuant to state and local CEQA guidelines.
Second.
So we have, on the CEQA motion, we have a motion by Vice Chair Louie and a second by Commissioner Moon, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Duarte White, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Louie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair O'Connor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Moon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings, how do you vote?
Yes on CEQA.
Motion carries.
Further, I also move that the Regional Planning Commission adopt the attached resolutions recommending approval to the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors, the Westside Area Plan, project number PRJ 2023-001700, General Plan Amendment number RPPL 2023-002433, Zone Change number RPPL 2023-002450, Advanced Planning Project number RPPL 2023-002448, and Environmental Assessment Project number RPPL 2023-002449, with the revisions as recommended by staff, inclusive of, Amy, can you assist me on this?
Yes, here we go. Ready? You also move to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they prioritize a historic survey to preserve the historic and cultural resources of the communities. You further move to recommend for stronger coordination with the City of Los Angeles in planning efforts within the Westside planning area. You further move to recommend that the Department of Regional Planning include early and ongoing robust and meaningful engagement in the development of the capital improvement plan for the Westside planning area. And that you also recommend to the board that they raise concerns to the state over the continued housing mandates that do not provide the necessary time and space to comprehensively engage with the community and develop local solutions to the housing crisis, including RHNA reform.
Second.
How about the cultural capital?
Cultural capital is included in the historic and cultural resources of the communities.
Okay, just want to
We
make
can
sure.
certainly include cultural capital if you'd like.
I think that would be good to highlight that also, because generally historic surveys don't always think in those terms.
Understood.
The emerging field of, emerging area of helping and implementing cultural capital to legacy businesses. Okay, with that, we have a motion by Vice Chair Louie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moon. We'll have a roll call vote.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may comment on the motion. I will be supporting this only because I cannot not support this. Because if the county is penalized by the state of California, that means you're all penalized. Now, the Board of Supervisors has the clout. We don't. So that's why I will be supporting this, to support staff to go to the Board of Supervisors to hopefully vigorously oppose RHNA, because we don't have the power to say, don't penalize us, this body here. But the Board of Supervisors does. So I will be supporting this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other comments? Then we'll go to the roll call vote.
Commissioner Duarte White, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Louie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair O'Connor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Moon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion carries. This matter will be scheduled for a future public hearing before the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. And with that, that concludes item 6, and we will move on to item 7, which is general. Please be quiet as you guys head out. Thank you. The item number 7, do we have any general public comment?
No, we do not have any.
Okay, that moves us on to continuing reports. Does anybody have any?
Please exit the room quietly. Thank you.
A call for review of decisions by the hearing officer? There none? No? Okay, with that, we'll move on to, are there any reports from the commission, council, director, further reports?
Certainly, I do have a director's report for next week. We have a busy agenda next week at the board. There are a number of appeals and public hearings at next week's board. One is revisions to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance to support short-term rentals. The other one is the appeal of the the call for review by the Board of Supervisors for the Xterra Charter School, which you approved in a split vote. The appeal of a condition for the Cali Lake RV Park, the appeal of a condition for an ABC license, ABC CUP for an L Super in District 2, and an appeal of a guest ranch at Rocky Oaks in the Santa Monica Mountains. All of those will be heard by the board next week.
So they're going to have a big land use agenda next Tuesday.
Very much so.
Okay. Any other comments?
No,
Okay.
that's my comments.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I also meant, commissioners or county council. But hearing none, we will move to adjournment. So we'll adjourn this meeting and we will reconvene next week, Wednesday, October 31st, 2024, the day before Halloween. And we'll see how many games the Dodgers have won by then. Or if they will sweep the Yankees or not. Okay, with that, we're adjourned.